In politics, some promises sound too good to be true. Campaigns are filled with bold declarations and sweeping solutions, each one designed to capture attention and win over voters. But as history has shown us time and again, the bigger the promise, the more important it is to look closely at the details. And sometimes, they really are. When a politician makes a claim that seems to defy common sense, it's worth pausing to ask, does the math actually work out? President Trump recently unveiled TrumpRx, a government website promising to help Americans find low-cost prescription drugs. The announcement was made with great fanfare, and the website was touted as a game-changer for millions struggling to afford their medications. Flanked by Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Dr. Mehmet Oz, now head of Medicare and Medicaid, Trump claimed a revolutionary victory for consumers. The stage was set for a major policy breakthrough, with high-profile allies lending credibility to the announcement. The headline was eye-catching. Ozempic and Wegovy, two of the most popular weight loss drugs in America, would supposedly drop in price from over $1,000 to just $199. That's a dramatic reduction, and Trump's team called it a price cut of 578%. For anyone paying attention, that number alone should raise eyebrows. But here's the catch. A 100% price cut means the product is free. Anything more than that isn't just unlikely, it's mathematically impossible. Numbers like 578% don't make sense in this context, and they reveal a fundamental misunderstanding of basic arithmetic. This wasn't a one-off mistake, either. For weeks, Trump and his surrogates touted drug price cuts of 400, 500, even 600%, numbers that simply don't add up. These claims were repeated at rallies, in interviews, and across social media, creating a narrative that was more about spectacle than substance. In reality, the Inflation Reduction Act's negotiated drug prices won't take effect until 2027, and even then, the changes will be gradual and limited to certain medications. The sweeping, immediate savings promised by TrumpRx are nowhere to be found in the actual legislation. In fact, a Senate report found that prices for hundreds of other medications actually rose during Trump's term. For many Americans, the cost of prescriptions continued to climb, putting essential treatments further out of reach. The TrumpRx launch was more political theater than policy change, a performance designed to impress with big numbers, not real results. The spectacle was carefully crafted to generate headlines and applause, but it left the underlying problems untouched. The event highlighted the widening gap between political rhetoric and the complex reality of governing. Turning campaign promises into real-world solutions is never as simple as it sounds on stage. It's a reminder, when promises sound mathematically impossible, they probably are. Voters should be wary of flashy announcements that don't stand up to scrutiny. The facts matter, especially when the numbers don't add up. It's crucial to look past the headlines and examine the real impact of proposed policies. In the end, the real cost of healthcare remains unchanged for most Americans. Despite the promises and the pageantry, families are still struggling to pay for the medications they need. The spectacle may grab headlines, but it doesn't solve the problem. Real solutions require honest math, careful planning, and a willingness to confront difficult truths. Understanding the truth behind the claims is more important than ever. In a world of impossible math and political theater, only the facts can guide us toward real change. The TrumpRx announcement was carried live by Fox News, drawing millions of viewers eager to see what the former president would unveil. The network's coverage was front and center, with anchors hyping the event as a major moment in political news. But that wall-to-wall coverage lasted only for the first 10 minutes, as anticipation quickly gave way to confusion. As Trump's bold, headline-grabbing claims shifted to more technical explanations from Dr. Oz and Joe Gebbia, Fox News made a sudden editorial decision. Without warning, they cut away from the live event to cover a missing person story, leaving viewers wondering what just happened. The move sparked immediate backlash. Trump allies and supporters took to social media, blasting the network and openly questioning Fox's loyalty to the former president. The abrupt switch became a trending topic, fueling speculation and debate. Many asked, why showcase the grand promises and dramatic opening, but not the crucial details that followed? Was Fox News trying to protect its audience from boredom, or shielding Trump from scrutiny? Some media analysts speculated that Fox wanted to avoid exposing the plan's potential weaknesses, or perhaps feared losing viewers if the broadcast became too technical or dry. Others suggested it was a calculated move to keep the story exciting and focused on spectacle. By highlighting the sizzle and skipping the steak, Fox News shaped the narrative, showing confidence and drama, but not the complexity or substance behind the announcement. Later in the broadcast, Fox aired only a brief snippet of Trump's closing remarks, leaving viewers in the dark about the full content and substance of the plan. Many were left with more questions than answers. Even the most friendly media outlets must constantly balance access to power, the pursuit of ratings, and their responsibility to the truth. Editorial choices can shape public perception in subtle but powerful ways. The cutaway was a reminder of just how much control networks have over what the public sees, and what they don't. In the end, it's not just the newsmakers, but also the newsrooms that decide which stories get told, and how. President Trump isn't waiting for history to judge him. He's taking matters into his own hands, determined to leave a mark that's impossible to ignore. He's actively branding the nation in his own image, turning the symbols and spaces of America into extensions of his personal legacy. Reports suggest he's pushed to rename major infrastructure, highways, bridges, and even entire districts after himself, aiming to cement his influence for generations. Imagine arriving at Trump International Airport or catching a train at Trump Station. These aren't just hypotheticals, but real proposals floated by his administration. He's even offered political deals, like funding for the Gateway Project, in exchange for renaming Penn Station, using the power of the purse to reshape the map. The Kennedy Center in D.C. has already become the Trump Kennedy Center, after a board shakeup that put his allies in charge and changed the institution's very identity. This move sparked controversy and a drop in ticket sales, as many saw it as co-opting another president's legacy and erasing decades of cultural history. It's not just about monuments, it's about making Trump's name unavoidable in American life. From city skylines to rural highways, embedding it in the everyday experience of millions. The goal is clear: ensure future generations can't ignore his presence, and that his name becomes as much a part of the landscape as the monuments themselves. Whether it's airports, cultural centers, or even schools, the branding is everywhere, shaping how Americans see their country and its history. It's a monumental effort to write himself into the nation's story, one building, one sign, and one name at a time, ensuring his legacy is impossible to erase. Trump's legacy project goes beyond buildings. It's about rewriting the record. He's reportedly tried to erase his 2 impeachments from the Smithsonian, treating them as errors to be deleted. After his 2024 re-election, a criminal case over his 2020 election interference call was dismissed, leaving the historical record incomplete. The administration often blames others for crises, only to quietly correct the record later, after the damage is done. The strategy is clear: erase, nullify, or bury inconvenient facts, and present a sanitized version of history. Behind the scenes, a handful of advisors wield outsized influence. Stephen Miller, known for his hardline views, now leads military operations like the controversial campaign in Venezuela, often bypassing traditional channels. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, though not in the cabinet, is dubbed a shadow president, shaping policy from behind the scenes. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has enacted sweeping bans on gender-affirming care, reflecting his personal beliefs more than broad consensus. The administration's direction is increasingly set by a few ideologically driven figures, not by established process. The push to control the narrative extends to American history itself, especially the history of Black Americans. Erasing the painful chapters of slavery, segregation, and systemic racism isn't just academic. It's a political project with real consequences. Without honest history, it's harder to recognize injustice when it reappears. Understanding the roots of policing or the long fight for civil rights isn't about division, it's about context and resilience. As Charlemagne the God notes, for many Black Americans, today's threats to democracy echo a long history of struggle. Ignoring this past robs all Americans of vital lessons. Teaching the full story isn't about guilt, it's about civic responsibility and building a more just future. Whitewashing history leaves us vulnerable to repeating old mistakes. Grand promises and optimistic speeches often clash with reality. Trump touts an economic turnaround, but most Americans still feel squeezed by high prices. 76% rate the economy negatively. Claims of manufacturing job growth are contradicted by official data showing a loss of 75,000 jobs in the past year. Even the warrior dividend for soldiers was just a repackaging of existing funds, not a new benefit. The administration's messaging often prioritizes headlines over facts. The gap between rhetoric and reality is wide and growing. Citizens must look past the soundbites to find the truth. Political theater may win news cycles, but it doesn't change daily life. The facts tell a different story than the slogans. We're at a crossroads where truth and memory are under siege. Impossible claims, media manipulation, and the rewriting of history threaten the foundation of democracy. Renaming landmarks and erasing impeachments isn't just vanity, it's about controlling the future by rewriting the past. The rise of unelected power brokers and the erasure of Black history are classic warning signs. The responsibility falls to us to seek facts, support a free press, and demand honest history. Only by insisting on truth can we protect democracy from the shadow of propaganda. The path forward depends on our commitment to reality, not rhetoric.